ordered up some goodies from Amazon, a couple of nice things for my watercolors, so let's just get right into testing out these new supplies. So welcome back. This is Cetriya, C-E-T-R-I-Y-A, and today I'd like to share a couple of watercolors that I purchased on Amazon. I had a $15 credit from a return that I did, and I figured that I wanted to test these out. I did quite a number of research on YouTube, this lovely little platform here, on which kind of watercolors that I should try out. I do have like regular student grade watercolors, and I've messed with them quite a bit that I know for a fact that I'll be using these guys, and truthfully, your money goes quite far using watercolors. I prefer those over markers. So let's go ahead and get through and take a look at this nice lovely packaging and this other accessory that I got to purchase. So I decided to purchase the 12-pack Mijello Mission Gold watercolors. From what I understand, based on my research, and I'll make sure to leave a couple of links below so you guys can go ahead and get some far more in-depth reviews and color swatching and whatnot from far more advanced watercolor artists. For me, I just know it's something that I'll be using, and I figured I'd test them out. And another reason why I picked this pack was for the price. You got 12 colors, and it seems to have a good variation of colors. I kind of wish it had black, but as I mentioned, I have cheaper black watercolors that I go ahead and give it a test. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I mentioned, I've already took out the watercolors in their packet, but it was really pretty. You come with this lovely kind of information card that tells you all the watercolors that they have, all the different swatch of pigments and such things, and then of course how they're actually created. And I don't know all the chemistry or the science behind watercolors. I'm assuming there's like different kind of pigments, light fastness, or binders and stuff like that, but it was between 2 or 3 colors systems that I was taking a look, and then you just got a slice of what seems to be cardstock coated paper. I don't think this is a sample watercolor. It just looks like one of those cover cardstock papers. And of course, this little packet right here was put in this nice little plastic. I bought this maybe about a week ago from the time of recording, and I could not help myself in purchasing and opening up this packet. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in for future references. But either way, they do sell them in larger packets, in bigger tubes, and in individual packets if you want. But I thought this is a good amount of colors for me to do my mixing in. The next little thing that I got to purchase was one of those like portable artist mixing palettes. I've never had one of these before, but as I'm going about probably wanting to do a couple of watercolors on the go, I purchased this little packet, and it seems to be, I believe it's a median brand, and I think this cost me about $13. So the Mission Gold cost me almost about $30, about $35, and then this was $13. So that's pretty much it, and I'll leave a link to the Amazon down below. So let's go ahead and give this a bit of a swatch. I'm just going to use a simple little kit right here just so I can get a sense of it. Ooh, look at all this, it's such beautiful. Okay, so instead I decided I'm going to go ahead and give them a full page, just really giving them the full shebang and getting a nice good set of swatch pages. And so far I have to say the colors looks nice and vibrant and rich. So let's start adding in some. I'm just going to use a full set of those colors. And I'm sure some of you are probably really like really experienced watercolor artists, while me, like I said, I've only been using student grade for some time, and I think I want to like add more towards my experience and challenge and repertoire and all that good stuff. So let's do that. Just mess around with it. I have to say this is coming out really pretty. So that's a really beautiful blue right here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and like put the names underneath each of the colors. So let's see here. Ooh. So this is like a blue-green base blue. Whereas this one, the other one was a purple. And honestly, I'm only using like little bits of dabs, so I can see already how much difference the student grade and like the professional grade is. And that's why I know a lot of people are talking about, you know, cheaper Copic alternatives and stuff like that. For the most part, I'm going in with a relatively dry brush. So I think this color is probably, you get more for it. There you go. Just to get a sense of it, it's really pretty. Oh, I know I'm going to be messing around with this color a lot. Like I said, I'm actually going in with the initial dip on dry just to pick up pigment and then see how it goes. And then, yeah. Because I don't, just for swatching purposes, I don't need that much of it. So I'm gaining some control right here. Ooh, this is a lovely green. This is a lovely, lovely green. The colors are very moist. I'm glad I picked. So far, I'm already pretty happy that I picked this brand already. So then dip it in some water. There you go. Oh, I'm gonna like this. This is nice. This is nice. Look at that. A little pat. Okay. Okay, so that's their deeper green. Let's see their lighter green, how that plays into it. Oh, this is a gorgeous ring. I'm sorry. I'm just oohing and eyeing to this lovely yellow green. I think I'm gonna have some really cool things going on. So this green's actually pretty deep, but I think to get it darker I probably would have to mix it in with another color. So and a little bit of water. Oh, this is really pretty. That's why I picked this packet, because for the same price I feel like you'd get like 4 or 5 colors. If for some reason they're so heavy on like red and brown or just one-sided blues and greens, and I just needed, if I'm going to buy me like a starter set, a decent set to try out the colors that they have on offer, I don't want to sit there with like, you know, relatively a monochromatic palette. I know some people like limited palette, but I do a lot of color mixing with my student grade colors anyways, and there was a time I used colored inks, but I've since give those inks away to some friends. But this is like a true purple. It's a true purple. But going back into using watercolors, I think in the future, I really want to be able to have that freedom to mix other colors. And the little pamphlet that I've shown earlier in the video, it has a little bit of like color mixing tips. So this purple is a very true purple, and I've noticed that purple in general is just like a color that sometimes is great, sometimes it's not, and I tend to mix my own purples. This is a very neutral purple. Personally, I probably end up mixing it with this beautiful blue right here to make a different shade of purple. So, oh, I guess I should mention what kind of like paper that I'm using. I'm just using a cheap mixed media paper right here, which is the Canson extra large mixed media. So it's not really a watercolor paper, but it can handle watercolors in it, and it's pretty thick. But some, you know, different watercolor paper will react differently on how it absorbs the ink and stuff like that. So yeah. All right. See, with just like a little bit of dab like this, I can go and make a full illustration. What's awesome about watercolors is, unlike acrylics, you can re-wet these, and unlike, at least for gouache, which I'd like to practice with gouache, I got some at my job, so I'll probably look up tutorials and that and practice on my job. But gouache needs, at least personally, I think it needs to keep a consistency, so sometimes you have to remix in more pigment. But with watercolors, look at this, I've used half of these so far, and you know, all I did was like a little dab here and a little dab there. It was not like a lot of it, unlike, you know, really expensive Copic markers. And I know some people are like, watercolors are hard to control, and yeah, if you're going for a more like layered realistic look, but honestly, markers I feel are actually more difficult to control. That's a personal thing for me. So it's kind of like to each his own kind of thing. Like, what do you prefer, or what floats your boat? Wetting that baby up. Okay. In case you're curious of what brush I'm using, it's a very, not old brush, but I've held it for like, I want to say 4 or 5 years, because I bought this when I graduated, and the barcode's still on there, but it doesn't say the price. And it's just an Escoda, I guess, mixed blend brush. Now this brand gave me about 3 shades of red, and like I said, I think, and it's not just me, I think for several people they've mentioned like, you know, I don't need that many shades of red. I don't know why, and I'm assuming like blues and reds are like traditional pigments and stuff, but personally for me, these two are both cooler reds to me. But we'll see once I add some water if it makes that big of a difference, but I feel like they're both relatively cool. Yeah, this one is just cooler, like there's more blue tones into it, so I'll probably gonna have to like keep that in mind for when I'm gonna use a red for mixing. Let's say if I want this purple to be more of a reddish purple, this will probably be the red that I use. And I think that because again, I'm like a mixing type artist, like I really like to mix my colors a bit, that this amount of cool tone versus this, because this is like a neutral warm red, not warm red, but like it's a very neutral-ish warm red, that it's not a big enough distinct for me that I can't just mix these two colors. And it's not like this color is neon for me to need that, you know what I mean? Like it would be like one or the other. I probably would have just accepted this red and then not have that red because I have a warmer red. You get what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's like, it's unneeded kind of, so. you're wondering why I suddenly stopped commenting, it's mostly because I had a phone call. Don't you just love recording videos like these? And I was not about to re-swatch another book about this. So getting back into the lovely commenting and stuff. So you got your general primaries, like I said, and I mentioned again, colors such as like the reds, I personally mix so much that I don't really need it. And I think once I start really mixing up colors, then I'll start to see the importance of them, because this is a very warm red and this is a true orange. I feel like I don't need this true orange because this red is so vibrant and this yellow is so vibrant that I could easily come up with that color. And sometimes maybe you use those colors so much that spending the time to re-swatching it would be, you know, such a time consuming thing. But personally for me, I tend to not like to over consume too many products. Never mind the markers. So I like to keep things simple. So this is the last color I'm swatching in, and this seems to be a very vibrant brown. So it feels like the browns, or the darker browns, are really, probably because they've been sitting on the pan the longest, have congealed a bit more. So I'm putting it in more in here. The last one. This is a very neutral brown, and it didn't give me a black, but I feel like if I mix this brown and this blue, you're gonna get a really rich, not black per se, but it's a rich black where it doesn't look like a dead neutral black, which in certain paint styles of paintings, it adds a vibrancy, a beautiful kind of shades of vibrancy. Because if you really look at black in the natural world, unless it's a super non-reflective matte black, it's gonna reflect the colors around it and things. But oh, this is a very lovely brown. I really like this green, these two greens here, and then this brown is really delicious. But again, you know, I'm used to like color mixing, so because of that, I'm able to recreate this kind of color. It wouldn't be that much of a thing to like take these two colors and then make that kind of brown, with the exception that it might have ended up being pretty bright. So maybe that could be it. So it makes it much easier, I suppose. All right, so how much left of the little product that I sipped out. So these little miniature tubes actually will last me quite a long while, because I can make a full illustration with just a little dab right here. And of course, typically with watercolors, you paint in like transparent layers by layer by layer, and not something as solid as this. I could probably pick up from this little swatch here and then make more colors. I wasn't going for any techniques. Like I said, I'm trying to learn more of watercolor, but you can kind of see how some of the water blooms. The yellow is pretty faint here. It's very neutral, bright yellow, so you don't see any spotting, but you can see some blooms here that I did just messing around with stuff, how it comes back in, some lifting. There's a little bit of spots in here, and all of these things. I have to say that I love how the texture is going. This blue is probably the only blue that I feel is kind of like acting weird compared to everyone else, but I love the subtle textures in here, and I think all in all this will be pretty cool. Let me go ahead and give you guys a sense of what the names are, and based on what watercolor videos have said, I don't know all these general information. Pretty much once I check for light fastness, I double check those, and usually when I purchase artwork, like if I purchase some original artwork from people, I tend to keep them in binding, or I tend to put them in like shadow boxes or special frames that are like UV protectant and everything. I just don't mess with the sunlight. But from what I can see, and maybe you're able to see it or not, but they have different levels of how transparent a color is, and you can kind of see it here. So this seems to be pretty opaque, and I could double check right here. Yeah, So the Perusian blue, and it's stated on the label, it says that it's semi-opaque. And then they have like a rating star system for light fastness. So this purple is probably won't be too light fast, and as it's dried up, I can tell that this will be kind of a weird color that I have to mix in with other colors. Whereas this one, again, after it's been dried up, it looks so beautiful. So my guess, just by looks, this is a pretty stable color. This is a stable color. This is kind of so-so. This is a stable color. This is kind of so-so. This is a stable color. There's something about it where you can tell by the sheen. And it seems like they're mentioning things like staining or semi-staining. I'm assuming it has something to do with lifting techniques. Again, I am not a professional watercolor, and I'm just starting out my journey. And I think for $38, these are perfect for like starter sets. Based on my use of student grade versus this, I think this is pretty good if you draw pretty well and you use watercolor a lot. So, you know, 38 is not gonna break the bank. And it seems that they have their own version of a naming system, like, or numbering system, W544. I have no idea what that means. W553, and then there's a series A and D. So if you know more information about this, I looked up so many videos that all of that information is kind of like swelling up in my head right now. But if you know what that means by like the series A and D on these colors, let me know. I did recall that the other little number system here where it says PB27, I think it has something to do with pigment, blue or shade of color. Number 27, I think that has something to do with like its pigmentation. And then they have like little other iconographs to help you understand, to like represent what it means. So whenever you purchase their package or purchasing their color, that is probably what is meant. So I'm gonna go ahead and name these things, but for the most part, I have to say, just by the test, I definitely have really appreciate how well this is going for. So I went ahead and made these quick little labels. For the most part, all of them are light fastness number 5, except for this guy, which is 2, and this guy, which is 4, and this guy, which is also 4. Like I said, this is my starting journey in doing watercolors. I love these shades, are beautiful, and over time they've been drying, and well, I look forward to the art that I make, and I hope you guys join me in this journey. And by all means, let me know your thoughts, comments, corrections, tips for me. And as I am very much new to like the more advanced world of watercolor, leave them in the comments below. I really appreciate it, you guys, and hope this was informative to you. So let's move on to this art adventure. Hope to see you guys in the next video.